When I was in 6th grade, I went to go visit my little cousins at their house. Their house was right on the edge of these woods, and the woods were really thick, and our parents always told us not to go there. And one time I asked my mom why, and she said because when people do bad things, they sometimes go and hide in the woods. I was staying at my cousin's house for a week on this one trip, and whenever I was bored, I would go look out the window and watch the woods. Usually it was pretty boring, and I would just be staring at trees, but one day it was like 5 p.m. and the sun was setting, so it was getting dark, and I saw something moving in the woods. I told my uncle, and he said it was probably just an animal, and I told him no, it was tall and looked like a skinny lady. And he said I have a creative imagination and it was probably just a deer. But then a few minutes later, I heard my aunt and uncle whispering in the kitchen. My aunt was talking about a woman from the psychiatric hospital in their town who had escaped. Their house was like 15 minutes away from a maximum security psychiatric hospital for criminals with mental illness. And then they saw me listening to them in the doorway and they stopped talking completely. A few days later, in the middle of the night, I heard a noise.
Story time on how I got turned out. Okay, so boom, let's get into it. So I'm a girl that many would say is a girl's girl. Like, I like the heels, the hair, the purses, all of that good stuff. And I love me some men. I never looked at a girl in a sexualized way. I couldn't even imagine it until I was at a friend's party and there was a stud eyeing me down. Child, she was flirting with me the whole night, but I told her I wasn't really into girls. And she replied she'll F my whole life up. Little did I know that became a reality. I continued hanging out with Miss Stud for like a week until she invited me over. By this time, I was kind of crushing on her, but I didn't really understand it. Well, she made it very clear during Netflix that she wanted me, and we ended up in the room. And things got real. Like for part 2 on how I got turned out. Okay, so boom, like I said, I ended up at the Stud's house and we started watching Netflix, but then we ended up in the room. This happened, that happened, and a lot more other things. And from that day forward, not only was I gay, she made me crazy gay. Like, she changed my whole life when she introduced me to that world. We stayed together for 2 years, then ended up breaking up due to long distance, but I haven't dated anything other than a woman ever since. So now I'm actually a girl's girl.